Jason. Welcome to Leading is Serving podcast.
How's it going, Chris?
Good. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good. We've been sitting around before hitting record this morning, solving the world's problems. Oh my goodness.
The crazy part
awesome.
is if for you that don't know, we schedule time, and sometimes it takes time to an hour before.
I mean, we're only shooting for a 15 to 20 minute episode. We should be able to do that in 30 minutes or less.
You would think.
So, may you be blessed today by the wave of goodness coming out from the studio today.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, man. Well, welcome to the podcast, guys and gals. We are excited you're here. Please, hop over to leadingisserving.com. Leave us a rating or a review. Send us a message. We love to hear from you. And
sure.
We're taking nominations for leaders right now for interviews. We'd love to know who is out in the community fighting for the highest good of others. We'd love to be, love to hear about that and hear their story.
For sure.
So,
Sure.
hey, as we kind of get going this morning, last week we mentioned Pakistani Phil, right?
Yes.
And I guess we got 6 more weeks of winter or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think so.
and you know that the groundhog today is not the
same,
original
not
Phil,
the-
right?
right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, did you know there's also a Canadian
No.
groundhog?
Are you serious?
Yeah, they've got their own tradition up there. I think in Quebec. I don't know. I'm totally ignorant. Other than where Calgary and the Rocky Mountains are in Canada, I'm kind of ignorant of the rest of the nation. So I apologize to all the Canadians. Because we've got like at least 500,000 Canadians listening to the podcast. So
For sure.
but they have a corresponding tradition, and they have their own groundhog and stuff like that. But unfortunately, this year, they go to check on him the night before, and he expired
Oh, are you
during
serious?
hibernation.
Oh, no.
So they get to Groundhog Day with no groundhog.
Did you read this in an article or something?
Yes. So what does that mean? 6 more weeks of winter, or or does it just mean winter will never end? I don't know. Apparently they had a plush toy that, or do you just run to the pet store
and
be like,
and buy a
give me the
groundhog?
biggest, oh, you don't have groundhogs? Give me the biggest guinea pig you got.
Right.
Whatever. But talk about figuring things out on the fly.
Right.
And the poor guy that had to stand up in front of the crowd of thousands and say, well,
It's hard to say, right?
yeah, here's our groundhog for the day.
We definitely have 6 more weeks.
Oh my goodness. So,
wow.
I don't know why we're talking about that other than just to follow up. And
That's
say,
right.
How do you respond as a leader when the unexpected happens, right?
Right.
I mean, we're always dealing with things, and sometimes it
true.
is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And you got to roll with it. So, yeah. So there you go. How's that?
That's good. And
We can always turn this around.
right. As long I'm going to Florida.
Yeah. All right. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about probably a game that we play as leaders and entrepreneurs and things like that we probably should never play.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever played the comparison game?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What does that mean? What does that mean to you? I'm curious.
I think that, I was talking to another business leader just the other day, and, it is very easy as you start your company and you look at other companies that are probably similar in what they do, you quickly go, I want that many trucks, or I want to be able to have that nice office, or better yet, why don't I have those trucks? Or why don't I have that office? You know, and those kind of things that are just kind of like, they're very defeating. They can be very defeating if you don't.
Absolutely.
Keep things.
I mean, whether it's somebody's profit margin or their bottom line or their gross sales or their, they've got, they landed X client.
Right.
Why can't I want to land that client. I want that type of person. I mean, the comparison game just really crops up in our lives way more often than we want to, and probably even sometimes when we're not even realizing it.
Yes.
That we're not even realizing that we're comparing ourselves to others. And where all this is coming from is I was reading some information from Jeff Henderson over at the Four Company, that the heart of his company is, do people know what you are for? Which which is excellent. I mean, that's what we're about. We are for the highest good of other people, right?
Right.
And so, we talk through this comparison game with ourselves all the time and with others, and the result is I wish I was further along than I am today. Right?
Uh-huh.
That's generally the final answer is I wish I was further along. Why can't I be here?
Right.
Why am I not here? Okay.
Right.
And what we have to realize is that we are exactly where we're supposed to be. Because it's your journey, not their journey.
Right.
And we know these answers, right? I mean,
Right.
we know that it's my journey. I gotta, but they have not experienced the same timeline as you.
Right.
You know, I mean, for example, Jeff Henderson, he switched careers at 55.
Okay.
After 20, 30 years in a very stable and steady career, he switched gears and started his own business at 55.
Yeah.
And so, of course, he's not going to be further along than the guy who did it at 35, who's got 20 years on him.
Right.
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 And, it's the timeline is different.
Right.
The circumstances, the people on your team, the expectations that you set, that they set, that others have for you,
Right.
the economy, there's outside forces. I mean, there's so many things in our lives, in our business, in our personal, even how much our personal life affects our business life.
So true.
We had, I've had 2 teenagers graduate high school, launch into adulthood, right?
Right. Right.
That season of life affects what we can do in our professional life.
Yeah.
Because it's just
For
a
sure.
different season than when they were 15. And that was a different season than when they're 22.
Right.
It's just different. And all of these things affect us. So our story is original. And we really can't, I mean, the comparison game is just a lose-lose situation.
It totally is.
Because in the end, you're really farther along than you think you are. That when you start looking at all the challenges, all the steps along your journey,
Right.
you're actually further along than you think you are.
That's good.
But we always spend so much time looking further down the road going, why can't I be there?
So true. Especially for us visionaries. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we go back to the 5 voices, so for some of these voices, I bet this is even more of a struggle for some and less of a struggle
sure.
than others. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And talking about those tendencies that, an integrator is probably going to, which, doesn't have to do with the 5 voices, but, somebody who's thinking about the here and now and dealing with it accordingly, are
Right.
probably not so much worried about
Well,
that.
73% of the population are present voice in
Okay.
nurturers and guardians. That's almost 3 out of 4 people sit in that present moment better than the other 1 in 4 people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so those 3 people are sitting there going, why does that 4th guy always come in and blow things up?
Right.
Never happy with how far along we are.
Right.
Does she not see how far we've come?
Right.
Right. But I mean, and not that those voices are immune to the comparison game, because
Right.
all of us do it all the time. Right. But, definitely there are some voices that are more prone to it, for sure. 100%. And
Yeah.
so you're exactly where you need to be, because that is your journey.
Are you telling me that? Because I feel like you're telling me that today, which is good. I appreciate that. But if you're listening to this, I would take that advice as well.
We're just going to let this moment sit.
Right. I was like,
I mean, some of us go through the comparison game more publicly than others, and for me, it is very private. It's very quiet. That I go places in my brain that, no, thank you. I
Right.
shouldn't. I don't. No, go. Stop doing that. Right.
Right.
And how do we recognize that and put a roadblock up so that we don't go down that road,
Right.
so that we don't play that game. And so what's the best next step? If you're in the business of playing the comparison game, and you keep losing and you keep losing,
Yeah.
or maybe you start cherry picking the people you want to compare yourself to so that you always win,
yeah.
which
then there's
is
that.
not healthy either, right?
I don't know if I'm always winning.
Well,
Just joking. Yeah.
yeah, but just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward.
Right.
Take that next best step. And you might find out months down the road that next best step was the wrong step.
Yeah.
But don't compare what you know tomorrow with what you knew today. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because you're making the best step you know is possible today. And if 6 months down the road it proves out to be wrong, well, it's because you have 6 months of new knowledge.
Right.
So don't beat yourself up for taking missteps, because that's part of your journey.
Right. Well, and I don't know, I'm sure we've talked about this, but like not taking a step is worse than taking a step and learning from it.
Right.
So it's like if you don't take a step, it's going to be worse off
Right.
than you would have never started.
Right. Right. I mean, and we were talking about it this morning that having experienced something in your business, you are now more equipped and more able to cut that off at the pass down the road.
Right.
And you know how to lead better in that moment now that you've seen it happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we have to go through these learning moments.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we learn from others,
Right.
but sometimes we learn from our own journey.
Right.
We pick ourselves up and
Right.
we move on, right?
Right.
And so we've got to stop thinking about even comparing ourselves with tomorrow.
Okay.
Of saying, I wish I was further along today. Because you're exactly where you're supposed to be today.
Good call.
And probably because we have an expectation that it's going to take longer than we think. And it's going to cost more than we think.
Yeah.
Then
there's that.
And that just doesn't sit well with my personality. Because, man, the creative voice, the pioneer, connectors, I mean, guardians and nurturers too. We all think, we're gonna be on the top of the world in 6 weeks.
Right.
12 weeks later, we're like, we haven't even found the mountain yet. It's gonna take longer than we think.
Yeah.
And no matter, that is just the course of life. Because if you want to build something of value, it's gonna take time.
True.
Value doesn't come overnight.
Yep.
And if you're going to build something of value, it's going to cost more than you think. And we're not just talking finance either.
Right.
We're talking yourself, your energy, your relationships. It's going to cost.
Right.
It's going to take more time. It's going to take more energy. It's going to take more finances. It's going to take more decision-making power than you ever thought you had. There are going to be days where you think, I can't go any further.
Right.
I'm just done.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But we've got this.
Yep.
You've got this. You guys out there, you've got this.
Right.
You've got, this is your journey. So take the time to reflect.
And the best part about this, if you're listening to this right now, I would also say that you've been on this journey with us. You're probably this is probably not your first podcast, but if it is, you're probably in a great spot. Because I would say that if you are attracted to this podcast, then you're trying for the right reasons. And you are in a good spot. Don't compare yourself. Like, recognize it is going to take a little longer and be willing to put that extra energy into it. We're here to cheer you on in that process because Jason and I both know I completely agree with this topic. It's like, I don't even know how many times I've compared things. I've sat back and gone, why is this taking so long? I mean, in any one of my businesses, like it's like everything always takes longer. But I highly agree with the fact that quality can't be built overnight.
Right.
That refinement that comes over time is not something that's microwaved.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not something that it can be that instantaneous in a 30-second window. And whether you've had the experience or not, it just takes time.
It does. It does. If everything depended on, you're a general contractor. So if everything depended on, 2x4s and drywall and screws and shingles and carpet and flooring and electrical and plumbing, if everything just depended on that, all that does exactly what you tell it to do.
Right.
But all of our visions are based on other people coming into alignment with that vision,
Right.
and executing along that vision, and that takes time.
It does.
And they don't always do exactly what you want them to.
Right.
And they bring their voice to the table too.
Right. And like you said, they bring their voice to the table too. So now you have to mix that together and try to get it together, get those voices together to be able to talk in the right line framework that you want it to.
Right. So if you're sitting there today going, I'm one of the three future voices, pioneer, creative, or connector, and you're just going, I've got to stay more grounded in the moment. How can you become a little more self-aware of your journey, to reflect on your journey and think, okay, this is what has brought me to this moment, and I am thankful and I'm grateful for every one of these steps, good or bad. And I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
And I see where I see all too well where I want to be tomorrow. And being, slowing yourself down enough to take that next best step, that small step toward that vision, and being okay living in the present.
Right.
And if you're one of the other two voices, the guardians and the nurturers that are very present voiced of going, all right, this is exactly where we are. And we're good at seeing that.
Right.
And to not be frustrated when one of those other three voices come in and blow it all up.
Right.
Right. And to help them see, maybe part of your role is like, hey, I can help you be grounded. Let's talk about our journey.
Right.
I can help you see where we're at today and see the amazement of realizing, oh my goodness, we've overcome so much just to get here.
Right.
Now, how are we going to get to where you want to be in 6 weeks? Let's set a course. Let's set a path. So the interplay of voices between present and future voice is amazing if we allow it to happen. But oftentimes we want to associate with people that are like us, right? And we allow ourselves to get segmented. And we need the future voices and the present voices speaking together, bringing all 5 voices to the table.
Right.
And
this is a lot of information on the voices. If you're lost at this point
Sorry.
and you're not, I just want to give you a little tidbit. Like, if you're lost and you don't know the voices, it's something we've touched on a lot. So go back and check some of the old podcasts because you'll want to understand what we're talking about, because these are key factors that I think are truly important to be able to make sure you're understanding how you're putting these pieces together to make sure that you can work through things like this.
Right.
Because this is exactly why the 5 voices have been so important to understand as you're working with the team.
And there is still a link in the show notes that you can go and take a free version of the 5 voices test.
Okay.
It's you can still take that link and find out your primary voice. We're available for more information on
For
that.
sure.
Absolutely. And there's tons of episodes in the past where we talked about it. So that's a good call.
I just want to make sure that
it's a good call. But the point, the reason I love the 5 voices, so I got off track. Sorry.
No,
but
good.
the point of that is we don't have to play the comparison game alone.
Right.
That we need to bring others into the journey, others into the conversation. And I think we begin to realize the significance of our own journey.
Yes.
And so that's my encouragement today.
And all the more reason why it's great to be able to converse with other people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
So that they can encourage you through that process. Because, we've all had those moments where a little frustrated with where things are at and how slow they've gone, or maybe they went too fast and then things didn't go as well. I mean, there's both sides of that coin, right?
Right.
So it's just wherever you're at, recognize the importance of where you've come from.
Right.
And what you've gone through.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah. So, this leans right back into the know yourself to lead yourself concept that we talk about a lot of knowing your journey, knowing where you've been, what you've, overcome to be where you're at today. And, you guys be encouraged. You're exactly where you need to be.
Right. For
And
sure.
tomorrow is a new day, and take the best next step that you know at this moment, and be patient and be confident and be peaceful. To go back to that idea of, the peace index, of just being peaceful, that, this is going to take longer than I think. And so I'm going to push. It doesn't mean don't push, don't drive.
Right.
It means keep going. But when your greatest expectation isn't met, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost more than you think.
Yeah.
You're okay.
And if you don't have somebody to talk to about this, and you're listening to this, reach out to us. I'd be more than happy to listen to chat with some people.
Absolutely.
And talk with them through this, because these are, I think these are very healthy conversations, which I think goes back to the whole leading yourself, knowing yourself to lead and leading yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you guys, thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah.
Again, hop over to the website, and you can support us over there by leaving reviews and nominating a leader for somebody you want to hear from. You can even support through financial means to help keep the podcast going.
Yep.
We appreciate you guys.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Keep fighting for the highest good of others.
Yeah.
See you later.